All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of Breakfast with Gene. Here we are with the man, the myth, the legend himself, self-proclaimed ultra geezer Gene Dykes. And I'm Simon, CEO of Stoked Oats, and he's our man for Western States this year, which we are about 5 weeks out from. We've been running the Breakfast with Gene series for the last few months. We've had some phenomenal guests on the show who have educated both Gene and myself about what to expect during the race, dealing with everything from the fires we've had last year to the incredible snowpack, pro tips from the likes of Wardian and Ellie Greenwood. We've had Craig Thornley, Reed Coolsat. So we've had quite a few fantastic guests, but thought would be a great thing to do. Circle up with Gene, see where his head's at. As we careen towards this race and head to Tahoe in a little over a month. Gene, how you doing today?
Oh, I had a tough race over the weekend, so I'm thrilled that Western States isn't being held this week. I'm trouble making it a mile today, but actually it was a big confidence builder. So you say, where's my head at? Well, for the last couple of weeks, I've been feeling like the great imposter. You name these people. I say I don't belong in the same room as these folks. When you haven't run an ultra in 2 months, you think, oh, I've totally lost it. But I just did my fourth one this weekend and did far better than I expected. So yeah, I'm on a high now.
Well, that's great. Why don't you tell us about it? I mean, it was a big race, and you did fantastic. So, why don't you give us some of the highlights?
Well, I always tell people there's so many ways to enjoy running, and you shouldn't limit yourself to the format. I do roads and cross country and track and trails and you name it. And also, there's most people only run against distance, but there's also a bunch of races called race against time. And this was one of those. It was 12 hours on a track, you know, round and round and round. I have no idea why I sign up for these things. Because there's just no other way to describe it than as misery. Um,
I don't think you're doing a good job selling it right now, Gene.
but it's overcoming things like this that'll make things like Western States seem easy. Let me try and describe it. So I went into the race. I had a lot of problems with the 3 C's. I had cold symptoms. I had COVID 2 weeks ago. I had no idea how those were going to affect me, and I've got this ongoing battle with blood cancer. My theory is that it doesn't affect ultra running any, but I haven't really put that to the real test yet, and this was it. So I went out there not feeling all that great. In fact, I never felt great the whole race. My stomach was just kind of feeling bloated, but I had 7 national records I thought maybe I could beat. You bear in mind that these track races are pretty soft records because some of them are really peculiar distances that nobody ever contests, and for whatever reason, all of the best runners in the past probably never set foot on a track race. So some of them were pretty soft, like 20K and 30K. Ask yourself, when's the last time I ran a 20K or a 30K race? It just maybe they run them up more in Canada, but never in the US much.
Can't say I've ever done one, trail or road.
Yeah. So anyway, I was ticking off those records. All I had to do was just jog for the first few, and but I had to pick up the pace to knock off the 50K. That was the 4th record. And from there, it was a long way to 50 miles. So I told my crew to calculate the pace I would need to maintain to get 100K in under 12 hours. And they came back and they said, well, you have to do a 3:05 pace per lap. I said, I'm already running slower than that, and so I had to go 7 more hours, pushing the pace. It wasn't just a matter of just jogging around and hoping I survived for 12 hours. I had to push it. And I just swore to myself, I said, I don't care. I'm just going to run the pace I need, lap after lap after lap. And, I'll only quit when I just can't do it anymore. And fortunately, I could. I didn't get nauseated. I didn't bonk. I didn't, I didn't wise up and walk off the track. Um,
Not for 12
and
hours at least.
I made 100K with 4 minutes to spare. So, it was a great success.
Yeah, well, that's phenomenal. In terms of nutrition, what were you doing? Your usual mix, your carb drink?
Yeah, I started out with Coke, mixture of Coke and water. At one point, they served some potato soup, so I had a little cup of that. And I had a grilled cheese, but other than that, I switched to Martin about halfway through the race and used that the rest of the way. I did discover that I really don't care for the caffeinated version of their powder. It really made me feel yucky.
Hmm.
So I'm going to pitch any of that I have. And whereas I don't mind a caffeine tablet. I took one of those with 6 hours to go and another one with 1 hour to go.
Mm-hmm.
And that is really a secret weapon in races like this. And I'll definitely be grabbing a caffeine tablet or two during Western States. It just you take it and 15 minutes later, all of a sudden you're on top of the world and running fresh again, and lasts 3 to 4 hours. So yeah, don't hit the ultra without it.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. I mean, everybody responds differently, but caffeine is probably the best legal performance enhancer out there.
Mm-hmm.
Short races all the way through to long. So I learned that many, many years ago from a good friend of mine, Dr. Mark Tarnopolsky, who was a mitochondrial specialist out of McMaster University in Hamilton, and no slouch of a athlete himself. So yeah, he was always pushing caffeine on us, and I think it helped. So that's interesting. We'll make sure we have caffeine tablets for you at Western States. Okay, so you've had 5 episodes so far, bunch of guests. Is there anything that stood out to you through these previous interviews and conversations we've had that you hadn't considered, or that you just made a mental note? I better prepare myself for that.
Well, some of that is homework I still have to do, but I did have some takeaway from this, and it's well, it's one thing to know that Western States is an important race, and there's a lot of tradition. But here I am talking to the people who've actually done it and so on, and it started making me feel like that. This is something that is really going to mean something to me. While I'm doing it, it's not just going to be another 100. And it was great seeing the different viewpoints of the race.
Yeah, definitely a lot of love out there for the race. I was at the Canyons race in Auburn just a couple of weeks ago, watching Chanel and some friends race there. Wasn't able to run myself, but oh yeah, the buzz around Western States. It was a golden ticket race, so there was yeah. I mean, that part of the world is so focused on Western States. Got to see Craig Thornley in person and chat with him, so they're all very excited to have you down there and see how it goes. So it's going to be a lot of fun. In terms of your training and prep, obviously you just had that great confidence builder this past weekend, 100K sub 12 hours, so that was huge. Beyond that, you've had a winter and spring that you've been dabbling with some or dealing with some injuries, I suppose, but you had some travel and a little bit of time off in there. How do you think that's affected you overall?
Well, it just made me worried there for a while. It's affected my training in that I was starting to pick up these niggling little thigh injuries, so I canceled every road race between now and Western States. And I'm going to skip my race this coming weekend. It's just a 10K trail race, and the odds of falling are slim, but who wants to chance it? So
Right.
yeah, one thing I've done is I've gone from just saying that Western States is my priority to actually acting on that. And for me to give up races, I'm
There's a
really keen
lot.
on something. Mhm.
Yeah. No, that's great. That's great. So, we're basically 5 weeks out now. Probably four by the time this episode airs, 3 or 4. What are you going to be doing in the next month to prepare yourself both, physically and mentally? You've already said you've adjusted your training schedule. Anything else that you'll be looking into just to get yourself ready, or?
Well, I have to start doing a lot of hill climbs. I've got a nice little third of a mile hill. And I go out and I start climbing up and down for 3 or 4 hours at a time. I'll have to do that 2 or 3 times. Let's see, I've got one more ultra coming up. I've got a 50 miler 3 weeks before Western States.
Is that your all-time favorite one?
Yeah, the Cayuga Trails 50.
Right.
Yeah, I won't cancel that race. It's just too wonderful every year.
Mhm.
And but I will take it easy. It's just getting in the distance. Anytime I see anything looking like a rock or a trip hazard, I'll be slowing down.
So that'll be
Uh,
your last long run then, leading in.
yeah, probably won't be doing longer than that. Uh, I suspect a lot of my runs to prepare will be kind of longish runs, like 15 miles, but at a good clip, like sub 8 minute mile pace.
Nice.
Because you've got to run at a pace that makes Western States seem so easy. You want to really feel like you're loafing the whole way around, unless you get in something resembling speed work. You won't get that feeling. One final bit of training. I'm going to become a hermit for a week. Somebody's giving me his cabin at 7,000 feet, and I'm going to stay there for a week before the race, doing some
Awesome.
climbing, and you know, it won't get me totally acclimated to the altitude, but should give me a good start.
Yeah, well, I mean, the good news is after the first couple hours, it's all downhill, so to speak. So
Yeah.
be losing elevation as opposed to gaining it.
Hmm. Yeah, and downhill's my favorite. I always struggle going uphill. That's why I often say Western States, my main concern is the first cutoff. I always figure after that, I've got the perseverance and the heat tolerance to get me through the rest of it.
Well, that's awesome. Leo, my 5-year-old jumped into one of the Five Peaks Trail races here in Calgary on Saturday morning. He did a 3 kilometer race, so that
Hmm.
was his longest to date. And we always just tell him, hey, you going into these things, you just have fun. Don't worry about where you finish or anything.
Did he
But
go out too fast?
no, he's now worked his pacing so that he takes it easy. I mean, it still looks like he's sprinting to me, but in his mind, he's taking it easy. Take a few little walking breaks. He walks the uphills now, but he wants to save energy for a big finishing kick. And he's always so pleased when he finishes strong,
Oh
like
yeah.
he passes a few people in the chute. So,
Yeah. He's discovered one of the joys of running for sure.
well, so it makes me think of your pending strategy for Western States. Just at the top of that first hill, get through the snow, make those cutoffs, and after that, it's a build, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. So it's exciting. Last question. You talk to your daughters about this? Are they all stoked to see you up there? And you'll have one daughter pacing and be a big family
Yeah.
reunion.
Yeah. There's a big family reunion with about 20 members of Olivia's side of the family, mainly going to be up at Lake Tahoe. I don't know who else is going to try and see me during the race. And I guess I saw a note. Erica will be taking one of the early legs, but other than
Something
that,
to look
no,
forward to.
no
You,
plans.
would- you wouldn't look forward to seeing me, but you'd look forward to seeing your daughter, I'm sure. She'll get you moving.
No, I'm looking forward to seeing everybody out there.
But nothing
I
more
usually,
than the finish line.
the funny thing is, I've done a lot of 200 milers and 100 almost all my 100 milers with no crew whatsoever. And I always say, crew's just a hassle. but sometimes it can really be a wonderful thing. And for instance, this 12-hour track race, a couple of people came, each of them set up a tent, and they had a big party the whole time. And while one of my big failings in ultras is generally spending too much time at aid stations,
Mhm.
this was kind of good training. I ran right past the tent, for 12 hours and never stopped more than a couple seconds to grab something off the table.
And
So
they were working you through it.
yeah, they were trying
Good.
to say, "What can we do for you? What can we do for you? Hey, come back." So yeah, but yeah, it was just so wonderful to have. Yeah, that's one of the nice people say, "How can you run around the track, seeing the same thing over and over?" I said, "Well, you get to see your crew over and over and over again. I mean, it's just a wonderful thing to be able to interact with your friends just on a continuous basis instead of.
Great,
I
great
mean, can you
point.
imagine anything more boring than having somebody come out for a 200-mile point-to-point trail race and only having 3 access points? I mean, this is it's all formats have their advantages, and
Mhm.
short loops, yeah, definitely some hefty advantage there.
Interesting. Well, maybe I'll get there one day. I think I'm more in line for the 3 points of access, point to point trail
Well,
racer.
if I had to choose, push came to shove, there's no doubt which way I'd go. But all of them have not only their unique points, but they're all different ways of testing yourself and getting to know yourself as a runner. And if
Very
you have
true.
never done a timed race, I think you're missing out on something.
Well, that's a good point. I remember when I dabbled in marathoning briefly just so I could run Boston. I certainly had no real expectations, wasn't looking forward to it particularly, but yeah, there's a great atmosphere along most of these marathon courses. I ran Vancouver, that's what qualified me for Boston. It was great. Boston was obviously next level, and it was just a pleasant surprise. Well, Stoked Oats will be sponsoring California International Marathon this year in Sacramento.
Hmm.
Which is a major Boston qualifier, so I might have to get back in shape and actually run that um, later in the fall. It'll be the day before or day after the Western States draw. So I think we'll be down there for that. It should be exciting. But Gene, I think this is all for today. Fantastic insights from you as always. Appreciate the recap on your 100K success this weekend, and I mean that's got to be a huge confidence builder. So congrats. We're proud of you for persevering. Can't wait for Tahoe. It's going to be awesome.
Yep. I'm really looking forward to it. Another training thing. There will be a week before I go to Tahoe. I'll be in Paris, and our hotel is like 100 yards away from this gigantic park. I could do 15-mile loops in there, and hoping to get out there every morning and do a nice long run.
Very nice, very nice. You're making me jealous about retirement, though.
It's wonderful. Save your money and your legs for retirement. That's my motto.
Well, I'll work on the money. I don't know. I can't speak for the legs. Those things might have been used up already, but we shall see. All right, Gene. Thanks so much, and yeah, look forward to chatting soon.
Okay, great.
Okay. Bye bye.